Okay, so Max usually provides a variety of ways to solve the same problem. So I'm going to show you one of those things now, and how it could be easier in some cases to do it this way. I'm going to keep working on my patch. I'll take out the print. I'm going to copy. First, let's move this over. But then I'm going to copy everything over to over here to the right. And over here now I can make some changes. I'm going to not use the less than part of this patch, any of the comparison parts here, or the set. And I'm going to just use the object split. And split looks for a range of numbers, inclusive of the minimum and the maximum. So I want to recreate my less than 5 comparison by typing my minimum is 0, my maximum is 4, bring in the output of my random, and just connect to the number box. And what you'll see is if it matches, if the input is within the limits specified, it will output whatever went in. I don't have to get it back. I don't have to set an object. So this should be functionally the same thing that I had before. And it is only if the value is 0 to 4 does it output, but it's straight the value. I don't have to store it and then bang it and do this whole kind of convoluted set message. So it's a simpler way for programming purposes to make the comparison, to go through. Now, looking at what this is, I can also change this a little bit, because now I can use split to also output things that are not in the range. So if it's not within the range, the input's not within the range, it's going to output the right. And I'm going to copy this with an option drag. And take the right outlet, coming over here. Now I need to do a little more editing. I'm going to make this to MIDI channel 2. And the program out is going to go to MIDI channel 2. And I can set different patches. Let's experiment a bit. I already have this set on a lead synth, so that if I send a number here, it'll play basic analog synth. Let's go here and say, I'm not looking at my MIDI table, so I'm guessing pipe organ, Yeah, different type of organ. Maybe, yeah, okay. So there's a little bit difference between the two. So now, if it is from 0 to 4, less than 5, it's going to go out this way and play notes on MIDI channel 1. If it is 5 to 9, the other values possible, it's going to output to the right. It's not within the range, and it will come out here and play the high notes. The high notes can play on one voice, low notes on another. So a little bit simpler using split, doing the same sort of comparison if I understand what I'm doing here. Now, we can take it another way and instead of just the random numbers again, I can map this onto a table that's going to play out. And here I'm going to go back to using my less than and a select. to look at this because I'm going to split this up a little bit. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go through, make a few changes. I'll take this one out. I'm going to stay with this. But I am going to go back to the comparison object. So take off the split, move these down a bit. Reinsert the less than 5. And now I'm going to look for whether it's true or false this time. 1 is true, 0 is false. And that's going to go to 2 separate itables. So let's set up an itable. Let's select it and go to its inspector and make the range be 13, the size be 5. So I'm going to play the minor 7th chord again, root to root, root to octave. Let's go down a bit more. Go in here, and I'm going to add another random generator. This is going to be a random 5 because that's what matches up with this table. Remember, select outputs bangs. And put a button in to see the bang. And a number box coming out. So this side plays if it's less than 5. Then, and I can even program in the table. Right? Do an option drag and take this whole thing. I should take this whole thing and move it over here. And so if it's 0, it comes out the second. Now that I have 2 arguments, I have 3 outlets. If it's true for the first argument, matches 1. If it's true for the second, matches 2, it bangs. If it doesn't fit any, it comes out the third. Now, because I still have the same voices programmed in, connect this table. I'm going to basically now, instead of low notes out with one voice and high notes, I have a 50% chance of playing the analog synth or the kind of electronic bell. So basically, just giving me 2 voices to choose from. Unlock, bring this down a little bit, and make one last addition, which is I can control the argument. I can have a number box. And this now lets me change the probabilities. So right now, half as many values are less than 5 as 5 or greater coming out of a random 10 object. So it's a 50-50 whether it plays the analog sawtooth synth or the electronic bell. But if I change that, say I make it less than 10, all the notes would go to the analog synth and none of the notes would go to the bell. If I made it less than 9, 90%, 0 to 8, 9 values would go to the analog synth. Only 1 value would play on the bells. I'm using the bang, remember, so this just tells me basically which voice to use. If it's true, it uses the analog synth. If it's false, it uses the bells, but it picks from the table. So I replicate the two and the two outs so that I can do that. So let's start it again, and then I'll change the value. So entering the 5 is the same as I've had. As I lower the value, more values will be false, more bells will play. So very rarely plays the analog synth. Now it will never play the analog synth. Going back up, about 50-50. Now, as I increment up, be more likely to play the analog synth. Now it's only going to play the analog synth if the random output here is 10 or 9. Now it'll never play the bells. I think I misspoke. It only plays the bells if the random output value is 9. Another way to control this, and another way to think about this, is using a slider. I have a graphic object. So let's unlock. Let's add S for slider. Make it a little bit bigger so we can see the outlets. And here, now it's going to output from 0 to 128. So I'm going to change my random. It's going to be from 0 to 127. It has 128 values. I'm going to change my random to have 128 possible values. And my midpoint break would be 64. The advantage here now is I can see a graphic presentation. 50-50. But as I move up, it's much more likely to be true than false. And it gives me a kind of visual representation that's nice to use. Now it's more likely to be false. So some possible applications and a little bit of comparison and what you might do with it.